All right, well, we'll get started and we'll see if we could have a bit of fun. All right, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Divulgence. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I have an awesome guest here today, and I'm very happy to welcome him. He has a podcast called the Infinite Fringe podcast. He also goes live on Aftermath FM late nights, as well as on Rockfin. He has a show called America Unplugged with my good friend Don Jeffries, as well as Tony Arterburn. Please help me welcome my good friend Billy Ray Valentine. Billy Ray, how are you, my friend?
What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Pleasure to be on. What's going on?
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I'm so happy you're here. Thanks for coming on.
Nah, man. Thank you for the invite, bro. Appreciate it, man. What are we going to talk about today? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so I mean, I hit you up, and like I said, there's so much stuff that I want to talk about, but I just wanted to get you on, meet you, see what kind of stuff that you want to talk about. So I guess we decided on you're going to kick me up some technocracy. We're going to talk about police state, mass surveillance, that kind of anything that goes into that bowl of
Well, I mean, sure, man. Yeah, whatever you desire, right? We can discuss, but I mean, it's the thing is, right? I think that's the most important thing if we're going to take this seriously, which unfortunately I don't know if there's any other way to take it at this point, right? It used to be very entertaining. Now it's very serious, right? And anybody who's denying that to themselves, I don't know what to tell you. Look around the world, right? So, I mean, the technocracy is the deal. And, forced medications are the deal here. This is what's going down, right? And they both kind of interlink. Right, they're going to come together in some type of ceremonial marriage, right? And in a way that is not going to be beneficial for us as a species moving forward, if we're even going to be human moving forward. And I know that sounds like a far stretch, but that's where we're headed. Things sounded very far-fetched a few years ago. If I would have told you, or anyone for that matter, that the world was going to be subjected to a mass inoculation program, a lot of people would have been, you're freaking crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist, and you're unhinged. You're nuts. And now it's the reality, right? We move on from 2019, 2020, 2021, and it's like, oh, it's the norm. Oh, how come you haven't been vaccinated, right? If you're not vaccinated, then you don't get a job, and you don't get unemployment, and nothing. Like they just right. So I mean, and a few years ago, a lot of people, most people, would have said we were crazy for discussing anything like that. So the possibility of humans no longer being human is a real big deal. And one day we're going to stare it in the face. We may already be staring it in the face if we know where to look.
Yeah, man. No, I agree. And I mean, we're not too far off. A lot of us are so plugged into our phones that it's not a far step off for some, right? I mean, with all the changes in technology, and now that they're coming down with all these new arbitrary rules and ways of herding us like cattle, soon that becomes normalized to the average folk, and then they take it one step further, right? That's how they do it. They push and push and push until they get to the touchdown.
No, absolutely, man. And the phones, right, is a very integral part of the whole deal, right? I have mine, and I am dependent on it, right? Like, I don't want to be, but society has made it so.
Exactly, man.
Right. Yeah. If you want to move forward in society, you need to have these tools, right? It's like, who doesn't have a phone at this point? We would look at people weird if we thought, well, you don't have a phone. Well, how do you live, man? Right? Like, what's the deal here? No, everybody has one, and we put all our information. It's literally probably our most valuable tool, right? We have everything in here. Contacts, like we used to remember phone. I'm old enough to remember a time when you had to remember phone numbers, right? This isn't a thing anymore. I don't remember anyone's phone number anymore, right? It's in here, right? And my banking information is in here, right? And freaking my email is in here, and every freaking thing, right? For so many people, and these things are bulky, they're huge, and they're an inconvenience to walk around with. So eventually, they're going to come up with something probably implantable that's going to do everything for you. And people are going to do it. People are going to want it, because what we're doing here, right, with this technological age, is we're sacrificing sacrificing our humanity for convenience is really what we're doing, right? So in the name of convenience, we will give up aspects of our humanity without knowing it, because we want to And you know what? I don't blame people. Okay. Like I really don't. I'm involved in this myself. I see myself doing this. I'm like, why am I doing this? Well, hey, right. People work and people get tired and people want to relax, but that's the nature of the beast, right? It's the nature of the system. I believe that this system was not set up for us to succeed. And I mean, any of us, there's a very small amount of people that can break through the ceiling, right? And a lot of those have bloodline ties, right? And or they came from money to begin with, or they were athletes and entertainers. Those people can kind of break through to a certain level. And then there's the other level, right? The ruling elite. But most of us are not set up for that, and we'll probably never see that, right? We have to continue to work and do these things. So we're going to be tired. And we want to live our lives. We want to take vacations and have fun. We want to do all of these things. And in order to do those things, we have to go to work. And work is fine, right? Like theoretically, but what are we actually doing nowadays? Like, what are we doing at these jobs? What are we doing at these corporations? What are we doing? And then they hand you a cell phone and they're like, well, here, you have to use that. And you get like 500 emails a day and you have to answer them, right? And you have a laptop. You can't work without a laptop. You cannot not have an email anymore. So all of this stuff is digital, and it's all going to be consolidated into one giant thing at some point where they can dive in and get whatever information they want from you, right? They can what is it? Data mining, right? When you go to social media platforms, when you go to like a Facebook or Instagram or a Twitter, you are uploading all your stuff, right?
You got to read those policies, man. If you don't, like,
nobody reads that,
they loot you, man. They loot you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And nobody reads that. Come on, like, I mean, nobody reads that. I mean, maybe somebody does, but most people don't. So they just sign up, right? And there's a saying that if it's free, you are the product, right? You are the product. If it's free, it's you, because nothing's for free. We know this already, except for the injectable. That's free. They want you to have that,
Yeah.
but nothing else is free. Insulin isn't free for diabetics. Freaking, dialysis isn't free. Chemotherapy isn't free. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but sometimes it is. It does save some lives, but then they're not giving any of that out for free. But this vaccine, boy, they want everybody to get that. But regardless, nothing is for free. So when you sign up to a Facebook, or when you sign up to a Twitter or an Instagram or TikTok or whatever the hell it is, you're uploading your information. That is your end of the bargain for using the platform. And they take this information, every single bit of it, and they sell it. So they're making tons of money off of you already. But on top of that, they are data mining. They are collecting priceless bits of information to potentially create you again in the future. And they'll never be, we let me not get too ahead of myself. Okay. We can get this down the road, but that's pretty much what we're looking at here. And through the information that we give them, they can manipulate us. They can shape and mold our perception, and our ideas to the point where they say, and by they, you know who I mean. Okay. Especially if you're listening to this show, you probably know who I mean by they. I don't have to go and explain this, but are your thoughts even your own? How many of your thoughts are actually yours? Because all of this is all over us, right? And it's imprinting information into our brain that maybe lies in our subconscious, and eventually we spit it out. We think it's ours, but it's really not. And that's what we are staring in the face. It's scary.
Yeah, man. Just to add to that, it's like a lot of our thoughts necessarily aren't our own. It's been planted through ads and social media and
right.
all this building this new society and ways of thinking, whether it be what to buy or related to race or sex or body image, how to vote, what to vote, politics, this, that, anything really. And again, it just goes into the phones, because whether it be Twitter or Facebook, watching a YouTube video, and then you get all these flurries of ads. It's everywhere. You go for a ride or a bike ride, you got all billboards everywhere. So it's all imprinted into our lives, and it's all downloading into our minds. And then, we kind of create the thoughts out of the scrap how we do. I mean, if originality is so dead these days, I find. I mean, it's it's hard to find people that think on their own and act on their own. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I mean, we're all guilty of it to an extent, but it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough because that's how you're growing up, right? You're raised
No,
with all
no, you're
that
right.
around you, and that's why we have to start making these changes now and start waking up now for the next set of people so that, you know, a difference can be made. Not to get too ahead of
Right.
myself, but you know.
Nah, man, no, you're right. And we're born into this system. We didn't have a choice. We were born into this system. So we have to, quote unquote, wake up, for lack of a better term, and figure it out within the matrix, right? Within the system, within whatever this is, right? And like I said, it wasn't set up for us to win. But in particular, but the thing is, as time goes on, it's going to get harder and harder to break out of this, right? Because like I knew what it was like before a cell phone. My kids don't know what it's like before a cell phone. This is part of their life from day one. They know what the internet is. They know what YouTube is, for that matter. All of this stuff like wasn't a thing when I was a little kid. I saw it happen in my life. So I think I'm the last generation that has a foot in both sides of this thing. Like I have, one foot in before, and now I get to see what it's like now. But most people, well, the young people anyway, I should say, they're not going to have that luxury. And I think it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on. Well, anyway, depending on your perspective, because you may not think any of this is bad. You may not think this whole technological society, this super high tech, smart cities, smart everything. You may not think that's a bad thing. You may think that's a good thing. There are going to be some people that are not going to know the difference, right? They're going to be born into it, and it's already happening now. But on top of that, anybody that has any pushback to the system based on what we used to do and what we used to experience, we're going to die. We're going to be gone. So that voice is going to die out. And only the people that are alive at the time and are conditioned. You could say that about everybody too. We've all been conditioned since birth for something. So the new generations are going to be conditioned to live in the way that we're living, and even more artificial. It's just going to get worse and worse, more artificial, further away from being human. Keep going. And they're not going to know the difference. They're going to think this is the natural state of being. There's a difference between natural and normal, right? Normal changes. The norm changes all the time. So in about 20 years, it might be normal to see half man, half robot walking around. That might be normal, maybe in 50 years. But is it natural? No, the natural is always the natural, and the norm will change. So I think a lot of people are going to be incorporated into this, and that's how we're going to lose our identity. I think we're already a species with amnesia. We already don't know what the hell's going on. And the further we go down this line, it's going to get even worse. We're really going to forget what it is to be human. And that's ultimately the only thing we can claim is our humanity. But we're giving it up to these people, to these high-tech corporations, and they're using it against us every freaking day. But in the name of convenience, we do it,
Yeah, man, convenience is king these days. It really is.
Right.
Like you said, we'll give up so much for convenience. And to your point about the past and future, you got to know your past to form your future. And when
Yeah.
that line keeps moving, like you said, what's normal keeps changing, what's natural keeps changing. We're not going to know, like you said, what is natural and what isn't. So
Yeah, at this point, there's a blurry line with everything. You don't know what's what, right? Tupac can be performing on stage. He's been dead for years, right? But you see him up there, right? And eventually where this is leading is, and movies have a lot of predictive programming in it. We already know this, right?
sure,
But
absolutely.
the one that I look at the most, and I know it's going to happen, is like, I don't know if you saw the latest Supermans that came out. I think it was one or two of them. And he goes into the Fortress of Solitude and he finds his father, right, Jor-El.
Yes.
And his
Okay. Yep.
father's dead, right? But it's this hologram of his father that pops up. But it's talking to him, and they're interacting. And Superman is asking questions to Jor-El, and Jor-El's hitting him back. And it's like, like he's still alive. He's not. but it's like he's still alive. And they kind of make it seem that way in a movie too. They don't make any bones about it. They're like, damn, he's dead. It's not him, but this is the best we have. This is going to happen. And they're going to ask, they're gonna tell you when your loved one passes away and you're left behind. Like, do you want us to recreate this person for you? And there's gonna be a hologram, and it's gonna look like the person. It's gonna act like the person. It's going to move like the person potentially and dress the same way. And all of this stuff is gonna come from social media fingerprints, footprints. That's where it's going to come from. Like, oh, this is the way he acted. This is what he did. And of course, of your own input, whatever. But if they want to recreate some, just for kicks, some celebrity, they're going to go to the profiles and find and look at what they did and recreate this thing. And this is what they're going to do in the future with all this information. They'll never reach immortality, which is their ultimate goal. People like Ray Kurzweil, who says, there is no God until I become that, right? He's the ultimate futurist transhumanist, right? And he wants to do that. He wants to hit immortality. That's never going to happen, in my opinion, brother. I don't think they'll ever figure out how to do that. I don't think they'll ever figure out how to transfer consciousness from one body to the next. I don't think they'll be able to get it done. But what they will do is they'll mimic it, right? And this is what we're doing now. I think we're mimicking creation right now. We're taking what God gave us and trying to make it better, quote unquote, make it easier. But in the same turn, while we're doing that, right, we're killing each other. We're killing ourselves with this technology. So I have this computer here. I have this cell phone here, and it's giving off tons of radiation. There's Wi-Fi going across, and that's killing you. Living in big cities is probably killing you. The food you're eating is probably killing you, but it's really convenient, isn't it, right? It's really chill, and I get to talk to you online. It's freaking dope. I got this phone, I mean, not that I can get away from it, but right. You see what I mean here, right? And that's the ultimate game here. It's all artificial, and it makes our lives, quote unquote, easier, but it also shortens our lives and makes it worse, but we tend to negate that because humans are for the most part, we tend to indulge. We have addictive personalities. At least I do. Maybe I'm talking for myself here, right? But I can get into something, and not want to get out. But that's what we're facing, and that's the biggest problem I think that we face in general. We are going to forget what it is to be human, I think.
Yeah, I think in some ways, not that we have to get too deep into that, but I think in a lot of ways we have forgotten. I mean, we're going way off the path, man. Way off the path.
How so? Tell me.
Well, and I just mean going back to you were talking about how I think you were talking about how they're getting
You're from Canada, brother?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Ontario.
I hear the aboot.
The aboot? Yeah. Yeah.
Aboot.
Yeah. So,
Canada, I do think.
I mean, just like in Canada, I don't know if it's as bad as it is in the States right now, but it's just like a flurry of confusion and rage. Yeah. And like that's when they're going to start making these moves that you were talking about, and we're just going to conform and obey and fall in line. And the people that you were speaking of that don't know the difference between what's natural and what isn't, and what should be normal and what isn't, they're just gonna slide right into that role,
right.
And then the next generation is going to be born into it, and it just turns into, these bloodlines and these oligarchies and these, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. The strings they're pulling are, the puzzles are falling into place, and that's how they do it. It's a long game for them. It's not a 2-year plan or a 10-year plan. It's, it's a lifelong plan, really. And everyone does their part, and they slowly shape it into what it's turning into. And it's
no, absolutely. I think it is a long game, right? And we see that now. They have all the patience in the world, even though they've accelerated quite a few things, right? You can make an argument for that for the past 2 years. Things have kicked into high gear, right? And things that I never thought I would see. I don't know about you, brother, but I never thought I would see them. I'm seeing them, and I'm like, wow, and I didn't think I'd see them so soon, and they're happening. So that they're making their move, right? If you believe in a they, right? And there definitely is, right? Like, I mean, the deep state is a thing now, right? It's spoken about on mainstream television now. Everybody says the deep state. So what's the deep state? You know, it's a government within a government, right? Like, I mean, and that's what the Illuminati was supposed to be the whole time and all this other stuff, right? A government within a government within a government, right? The hidden hand, the deep state. So now we know there is a hidden hand, whatever that is, right? Or at least the mainstream media is using it for some reason at this point to maybe to manipulate or something. We can keep going down the rabbit hole, but I'm going to stay at there is a they that are manipulating things in some way. And all these governments of the world are almost in unison trying to inoculate everybody. You know, you see what's going on up by you. It's not much different from what's going on here in New York.
Oh man, it's
it's crazy. What's up? Tell me, what's up?
I think it was like 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, give or take, downtown they had, I don't know if you saw, they were giving out free ice cream to kids to get vaccinated. Like,
get the hell out of here, man.
No parents. No, like, it was just such a weird, creepy feeling, like, of just like
right.
pedophile in a creepy van giving out ice cream. And it's like they're handing out ice cream and vaccinations. And it was weird. Like, you're talking about things that you never thought you'd see. I never thought I'd see that, man. Like, that shocked me to my core.
Well, there was a big vaccination setup here in 34th Street, right underneath Madison Square Garden. And I was just walking. I was getting out of the subway, walking, and I see this thing, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I'm like, and I went up to the people that were administering the vaccine, and I was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're giving out vaccines." Like, which one? He's like, Johnson and Johnson. And I'm like, "Oh, what do I get for getting the vaccine?" They were like, "Oh, you get a Metro card, a 3 months of a free pass to the subway is pretty much what it was to get."
Oh,
very
so many
alluring.
incentives
Right?
these days, eh?
Right, man. Donuts, you get donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. You get
yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
right.
Like, it's crazy. I mean,
$1 million, right? $1 million raffle in Australia.
Oh, is that right?
Right? Yeah, man. They're pulling out all the stops, man. Sweaters from schools, like whatever they have to do to get you inoculated, they're gonna do it. Right now, they're scaring the shit out of people. They have these commercials of people that have caught COVID and are dying or were on the brink of death, and then they say, "Man, go get vaccinated." At the end of it, like, please go do it because you don't want this. These are the new ads that are airing on television, trying to get people to get vaccinated. So they're taking a ton of routes, right? It's like, do it yourself voluntarily, or we will entice you to do it by giving you stuff that you don't need. We're looking out for your best interest and your health. But here's this donut, right, which is not healthy at all, and we'll give you the vaccine. And if all else fails, we'll come to your door because they were doing that, right? They went to outreach to the churches. The government went to the churches here in the United States and said, "Hey, can you get your congregation to take this stuff?" And since that hasn't fully worked, they just say, "Well, let's scare the shit out of them. Let's make these ads as showing these people that were on the brink of death and telling them to tell the people to go get vaccinated." That's what we're looking at. And here's the deal, right? Ultimately, now we have these vaccine passports, which is the most dangerous thing, right? It's the vaccine itself. If you want to take it or not, that's up to you, right? I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Go ahead and do it if you have to. Take 5 of them if you want. I don't care. Just leave me alone, right? That's the whole thing. Right. But the one thing I will ask, or I do ask of people, is that they stand for liberty, no matter where you are. If you're in the United States and you're in Canada, you're in Australia, and you're in the UK, it doesn't matter, man. South America, Central America, Asia. It doesn't matter. Stand for liberty. So if you're for the vaccine, stand for the people's choice not to take them, or to be able to take them or not take them if they want to. Just stand for that, because it's inevitable. It's going to come knocking down your door, and they're going to make you do something you don't want to do if you let this slide, if you let this pass. What they're doing right now to the unvaccinated, to people that don't want to get vaccinated, right? So what they're going to do is, in order to weed everybody out, I mean, they've already been doing it, right? You can't get into restaurants. You can't go to gyms. You can't freaking go to concerts, right? All this stuff, right, that they don't want you to do. Eventually, what they're going to do is just merge it with your phone, right? And they've already kind of started doing that But people still have the option to show this card, physical card. They're gonna phase that out. Everything is gonna go through your phone. Everything. It's the whatever digital identification Apple has come up with, saying that you can have your ID on Apple now. So your state ID is going to be, there's going to be an app for it on Apple, and it's going to be digital. You're not going to have to carry around a card anymore. And it's going to be the same thing with your vaccine status. Everything is going to be there. And one day, they ask for your identification because it's illegal to walk around without identification in New York City. I don't know how it is in Canada, but in New York City, it's illegal to walk around. It's without it. So if and in most of the states, if a cop stops you and you don't have identification, you're in some type of trouble. So when they ask for your identification, everything's going to come up, including your vaccination status. And that's what's going to make it even worse for people to be able to operate. Go ahead, man.
Step by step, it's just going to be more and more. Show us this, show us that. Where are you going? Give us all the details. Like, at what point is it, privacy starts going out the window. And that's another thing I thought I would never see, just this medical stuff that's supposed to be private and whatnot. It's getting such a turnaround and going straight out the door, the logic there. And it's like, no, anyone could ask for it. Someone, at the door of American Eagle or Victoria's Secret or the movie theaters or the bar or whatever can just, start asking for medical information and stuff. It's just fucking ridiculous, man.
No, I agree, man. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy. And everybody knows now if you're vaccinated or not, right? Everybody has the freaking right to know, right? If you want to go into the restaurant, the teller who has no business, right, knowing anything about my medical freaking history, he will stop you, or she, and say, hey, have you been vaccinated? How about none of your freaking business? Leave me the hell alone, right? But you can't get away with that anymore unless you separate yourself altogether. And what I believe is there's going to be some people that are going to separate themselves altogether. There are a lot of people that are very pissed off, which is good. I'm glad that there is a resistance. Even here in New York, I thought we were just going to lay down. There's a lot of people that are pushing back. And the small minority that we were prior to 2019, when it came to vaccines, there were still a decent amount of people that were skeptical. But it was still very small. Now it's much bigger. We are still a minority, even though that's even debatable at this point. I don't know how much of us, I don't know if we're still a minority. For lack of research, I'm going to say that we still are, but it's definitely grown. It's a growing minority that want to push back against these things. So many people that I know didn't want to take it at all. They didn't want to, but they went ahead and did it because they were bullied into it by the state. You can't work, right? So they went ahead and did it, but it left a sour taste in their mouth. And they weren't privy to information out of the alternative media, right? They didn't know anything about anything that we do. They just got smacked by the government right now. And they were like, damn, but I thought that, this was the land of the free and I didn't have to do this. Well, you got another thing coming, go take it. And but that has something has shifted in people as a result of that. So you forced me to take this vaccine, and it's like I said, it's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and that's a good thing for us because we're growing in numbers in a way that I didn't really see before. Now I see it. I didn't see it before though. Now I'm like, wow, it's really happening. There are people here that are really opposed to this thing and will put their careers on the line. A lot of people just, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to go to work. I don't knock anybody, like I said, for doing it or not doing it. If you have to do it, you have to support your family, you go right ahead, right? But there's a lot of people who laid it out and said, no, we're not doing this. And that's incredibly encouraging, right? That might give us an avenue to push back on the technocracy, on what's coming. Because they'll see that as, because I don't have, you're going to stop me from living. And the way you're going to enforce that is through technology. It's digitally or it's through your phone. And that might wake some people up to that aspect of this game and say, I see what you're doing. So you want to get me vaccinated. And the way you're going to be able to prove whether or not I am. And my ticket to the city, my ticket to the world, let's say, is this cell phone. or whatever other technology they come up with, right? That's going to be able to verify whether or not you can do, like you can live pretty much, right? Or you sit in your apartment. That's it. You know, and even now in Canada, what Trudeau was like, you can't work virtually. I mean, you can't work remotely unless you have a vaccine. There's not going to be an option to work remotely, he said. He says you're going to have to get the vaccine anyway. So what's this all about? Right? What's this all about then if it can't be about getting other people sick because you're home, you're working remotely. So why do you still want me to get vaccinated? You understand?
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like it's right out in the open, but no one wants to call it. Like it's the biggest thing that, like the people that are so worried, they're vaccinated, their whole family's vaccinated, whatnot, but they're still so worried about me getting vaccinated, or and they're still mixed up in the mask logic. It's like, why are you still fumbling with a mask? It just, I mean, since day one, there's just been confusion and, I mean, smoke screens and lies, and it's just been a terrible situation since day one. So the people as a whole, we're just mangled in our approach to this. We're not united in any way. I mean, we're not even necessarily divided into two groups. You know, everyone's got a different perspective on so many different aspects, and it's just creating a bunch of, a lot of division, and it's creating that confusion and that fighting that allows them to take their next steps and sneak in these rules or make these changes, and less of us are noticing or able to do anything about it because we're worrying about whatever else they're throwing at us.
Right. That's the name of the game, right? Is division. They've been wanting to divide us forever, right? And they're being incredibly successful in the divide politically and in the divide with this, this medical tyranny that's going on, if you want to call it that. I mean, they've divided everything. They've divided people into Democrat, Republican here in the United States. They've divided people in the alternative media. So they've not only have they divided, the pizza pie in 8 slices, but they took the individual slices and cut them up too.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody's everybody's pissed at each other. Nobody can say anything without triggering somebody. And everybody's at each other's throats. And if we don't come see the whole thing, and you know this already, so I'm preaching to the choir. The whole thing is everybody has to come together. If we come together and it's a lot easier said than done. I know this. But if we come together and literally step away from the system, everything falls apart because they need us to run the system. We can have them at our knees right now if all of us just came together and said, you know what? We're not getting vaccinated, and none of us are showing up to work tomorrow. So figure this out, and then we'll come back. It's over. It's over in 2 days. That's it, I mean, they're going to continue to try because they don't stop. But that's it. They'll say, that's it. All right, fine. Please come back to work. Please. We are what makes this work. And we are led to believe that we're not, that we are just cogs, in the machine. And it's all perception. And that's what they want us to believe. But in reality, that cog is super important. And if you start taking away all the cogs, that machine's going to fall apart. And that's what we need to realize, that, and it's us, right? It's we the people, not the people of the United States, but the people of Earth, right? And the working class, the middle class, it's us. We have to figure this out, that it's an attack on us together, collectively. It doesn't matter what race you are, right? It's an attack on all of us. As soon as we realize that, we may actually start making some gains here. And taking back our liberties, taking back our humanity, So I always preach that. I try to let everybody know that it's an attack on us, and it's us collectively what's going on here. And I just hope one day enough of us can realize that and step away, and this whole thing would come crumbling down.
Sure. Yeah. No, I hear you, and that's in they infiltrate groups like Black Lives Matter. Various movements and groups related to race, sexuality, different people that are unique in different ways that should be, celebrating those things, but they muck it up and we're fighting over it, and
Mm-hmm.
it becomes again, we're fighting with each other when we should be working together. Like you said, we the people, we need to see it as it is and not how they're making us perceive it. Whether it's propaganda or infiltrating these groups, or social media, anything any tool that they have in the book they're going to use. So we need to just kind of stick together, like you said, collectively as a group. We need to just be aware and not let them steal our loosh and break us down and you know make us turn the tables and into a drone or a sheep that just moves along in the line into the new set of natural rules and norms that they want us taking up, right? Just to go full circle to what we were talking about earlier. And they'll pull any trick in the book to trick us, to spin us around and make us fight with each other. And I mean, even if there's not even a real reason to do so, it
Right,
gets
man.
so.
No, it is. It's a crazy game, And back, not too long ago, people would probably poo-poo the idea that there's somebody pulling strings and trying to make people, do different things against each other. But, I mean, 2017, 2016, we had the whole Cambridge Analytica op with Donald Trump, and this is how they pretty much got him elected, by manipulating people's consciousness. That's pretty much what they did. It was insane. And watching that, I was like, wow, this isn't conspiracy theory anymore. Because we could talk about MK Ultra all day long, right? And those things actually happen too. We can prove that to a certain degree. But this Cambridge Analytica is now. It happened now. I mean, it's no longer a thing, but it happened now. So through the artificial, right, through the social media platforms, which we give them, all our information through all of this stuff, a company like Cambridge can literally have 5,000 data points on every American, and they ran ops throughout the world, and literally manipulates people's minds, making them think that they've made decisions on their own that they actually haven't. This is what's so dangerous about the technocracy. This is what's so dangerous about all of this stuff, because they're using what we love most against us. They're using this convenience against us, and it's a really difficult thing to come to terms with, and it's an even more difficult thing to break out of.
Yeah, for sure, man. They're making us kind of shoot ourselves in the foot with our own gun.
Yeah.
Like I said, convenience is king, but it's killing us. So we gotta like I said, you gotta know your paths to form your future. So we gotta look back and start going back to some roots and figuring out what was a better way to do things. Some of the changes that we've made aren't for the better. They're for reasons of greed or hate or selfishness, anything like that. So, like you said, with the Cambridge thing, people do some nasty stuff, and yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people have just lost their way. And although the group of people that are waking up and kind of looking for the truth is growing, sometimes I feel like the group of people that are just looking out for number one or willing to trade their morals in for money or whatever, I feel like sometimes that's growing too, because some people just, if they get that opportunity in life, they're just fed up with what's going on, and they're like, okay, I'm going to take the easy way out. I don't care if I'm screwing someone over, because I've just had enough. Like, life is just getting too ridiculous.
So how are things going up there in Canada for you, man? What's life up there for you right now? Like what's going on? With all, I mean, things are getting tight everywhere. But what's your perspective?
Yeah, no, it's starting to tighten up here now too. So Trudeau just came out the other day. I think he said that by October 30th, everyone needs to be vaccinated if they want to be
Mm.
traveling or, doing shit, right? So yeah, I mean, the states is a little different because you got 52 states or whatnot, and it's everyone has different rules. And in Canada, there's a smaller amount of provinces which do have their own rules, but I mean, for the most part, it's things are kind of locking down the same way how things are concluding, it seems. So it looks like everyone's going towards the passports, and they're going to start looking at, like you said, digital means of tracking and holding that on your persons to be able to show it whenever you're asked, wherever you're asked. Who knows how many times a day you're asked? So yeah, I'm just in a mind cloud of what am I gonna do? How is it gonna turn out? Honestly, like up until recently, I've just been hoping there's just everyone's just like, okay, we've had enough. No more of this. This is bullshit. And like, there's an uprising, and like everyone takes to the streets, and it's like, all right, let's go. But it's not happening, And I mean, it doesn't need to be that dramatic or anything, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just getting a little disappointing, and I don't know. I'm curious to see what kind of things they're going to start saying next. Now that, I mean, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do next. Seems like they've laid everything out to an extent, and there's nothing much left for them to do now except for start rattling the cage again, I think.
Well, you know what? I think they're closing in the walls of control, right? At this
Yeah,
point,
man.
you
Yeah,
can
dude.
you can see it coming, right? Everything is
I feel it. I
just
feel it.
tightening in. What's up, buddy?
I'm just saying, I could feel it. I could feel the
Right.
control, like it tightening in. Yeah.
And the thing is, right? Like, we were talking a little bit off air, and that's why this stuff isn't really fun anymore. Because
Right.
these are serious things. Now we can talk about Bigfoot and UFOs all day long. That's dope, right? It's fun. But the fact of the matter is, here's what we're facing, right? It's undeniable. So we can look the other way, and talk about other things and make believe everything is hunky dory. Or we can look at this, what's going on, and try to find out, try to inform people for one, and maybe try to find out, try to find a way to have some solutions. I don't have any freaking solutions, but maybe somebody listening to this may have, right? Maybe somebody listening to this has a better idea at how we can break through. And maybe we don't break through now, right? Maybe we break through later in a future generation, but we still have to address the issue. We still have to address it. We can't look in a different direction. We can't hope for the work to be done for us. We have to do it, right? We have to do it. So we have to continue pushing forward and trying to get people who maybe aren't as engaged as you and I or other people in the alternative movement, and try to get them to see that eventually this is going to knock on their door, because that's the whole deal, right? Eventually, this knocks right at your front door, and it becomes very, very personal. And then you're going to have to make big decisions, right? Maybe we can stop that now, and it doesn't have to get to that point, right? It's already to that point for the unvaccinated. But I'm just saying, for everybody out there that is vaccinated, it doesn't give a damn about anything else. Like, just, if at the very least you give a damn about yourself, let's make sure that we stop this now, right? I'll take the selfish too. Whomever wants to come and help us with this, let's do it. If you're doing it for selfish reasons, I don't care, as long as we do it together, right? And stand for liberty. This is the whole deal. This might be the line in the sand. It might be the end of it. Like, by that, I don't mean that humanity is going to be over. It's going to be a wrap. But what I mean is that there may be no turning back from this point if we let this go. And it might be too late at this point. I don't know. I don't know. I hate to say it that way, but it might be too late. It may not be. So we still need to keep pushing, but it definitely doesn't look good. And we need to stop it now. Otherwise, there's no turning back.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I feel it. Like, we need to. I don't know if we've gone past that point of no return, but we need to give our heads a shake, and
Yeah.
need to come together, stop fighting each other. We're all trying to do the same thing, live on the same earth, and it's just weird when you see people who claim, it seems like the new norm almost is people who claim that they're trying to make things better and get along with everyone and do the right thing. It seems like they're the ones doing the most damage and causing the most stress for people sometimes. And it's, I honestly, I don't know. I just like you said, I don't know if it's gone too far. I don't know what we need to do, but again, like you said, I'll take anyone too. Take the selfish, the greedy, the needy, man. Like, come on, let's do a rally cry here. We got to get together, brothers and sisters. Are you ready? Like, yeah, we gotta stay strong, man. We really do. We gotta stay strong. We gotta stick together. That's why I started this show. I wanted to, instead of just watching people like you talk mad stuff and revealing the truth, I wanted to be someone who can get a bit more involved and get the word around and throw my 2 cents in there. And I mean, that's just how I thought I could make a contribution, right? The people that listen to me, they learn something, they share it with someone else.
Right. I mean, I don't know how much of the truth, right? I'm revealing. I'm just some dude talking, right? So, but I try to give somewhat of an informed opinion, and hopefully, I look at every day as a learning experience. So you learn something new every day. So your perspective may shift from one day to the next, and that's fine, right? But yeah, you have to get active. You have to find a way to do something, right? So it's one of the reasons why I started the show, and it's why you started your show, and so many of us did that, because we felt like we had to do something. And then you're like at a loss. So what do we do? And this is an avenue, going out and doing activism from time to time, or however often you can do it, right? That's another avenue, getting involved politically, right? As far-fetched as that may seem, right? At the local level, some people actually make some noise, right? So there's all that in order to try to figure this out in some way, shape, or form. What's your setup like? You got a cool mic there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we call it neat microphones.
Mm-hmm.
I got the matching.
I never heard of them.
Yeah, they do. It's mostly for like music recording, but I mean,
okay.
It's good for the voice. So,
what's your interface? What do you use? Do you have one or no?
Yeah, I got a Scarlett 2i2.
Dope. And you like it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, this is all this gear is my first, right? So I mean, all of it's working pretty good.
Good, fantastic.
Yeah, man.
When I started out, I had a USB mic, and that's it.
Okay.
Plugged it into the computer. That was my setup.
Fair enough. No, that's cool, man. That's awesome. How long have you been doing it now?
4 years. Not too long.
That's awesome.
Went by really fast.
Yeah, I guess so. It's fun. It's fun. I have a great time.
It was fun. I'm not too. I don't know how fun it is anymore. It was very fun when I started, though.
Fair enough.
But no, man. I thank you for doing your show. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on, Billy Ray. I sure hope we could have more talks in the future. Before you go, can you just let my listeners know where they can find you, what other stuff you're up to, if I didn't mention anything, or just repeat the stuff that I said at the beginning?
Oh no, man, it's the same thing. InfiniteFringe.podbeam.com, Infinite Fringe on Apple Podcasts, right? The Infinite Fringe on Aftermath.fm. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Clyde Lewis. And of course, we have America Unplugged with Tony Atterburn and Don Jeffries. That's on Rockfin. And it's also on aftermath.fm. Now you can find it there. Other than that, that's it. Email me at theinfinitefringe@gmail.com. That's all. That's all we got.
Okay, Billy Ray, thank you so much for your time. I will be in touch. You be well and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate you, buddy. Take it easy now.
All right. Take care, my friend.